Final Fantasy VII isn't just a game about saving the world. It's a story that starts by blowing up part of it first. Beneath the flashy battles and larger-than-life characters is a tale about eco-terrorism, corporate greed, and the impossible choices you have to make when the planet is dying, including whether you're willing to become a villain in order to save it. This is the real story of Final Fantasy VII, a tale of resistance and the cost of progress, and why its message feels even more urgent today than it did in 1997.
And now, the most anticipated epic adventure of the year will never come to a theater near you.
However, one small but crucial shift changes everything between the original and the remake, reshaping how the story is told and what it asks of us. We'll unpack that in detail soon, but first, let's set the stage. In Final Fantasy VII, the world is powered by Mako energy, a glowing, life-giving force that is drawn straight from the planet itself. But harvesting Mako isn't clean, it's not renewable, it's extractive by its very nature. The more Shinra Corporation drains it, the closer the planet gets to death. Shinra isn't just a power company, it's a symbol, a stand-in for every real-world corporation that's profited off resource extraction, environmental collapse, and the exploitation of the working class. They own everything, from the power grid, to the military, to the media.
Attention all citizens. This is an alert from the Shinra Emergency Operations Center.
They live in the literal clouds, above the plate, while everyone else suffers below.
We don't need this sky. The sky frightens me, like it's sucking me in.
Unfortunately, Shinra's world is our world. They extract and pollute for profit, just like many corporations do in our own. They greenwash, manipulate, and distract. They offer propaganda about safety and progress while the planet chokes.
Thanks to the miracle of Mako energy, our lives are richer and better than ever before. Mako keeps our lights on at night and made Midgar into the city that never sleeps. A triumph of technology and testament to man's potential.
Nothing but a bunch of lies.
And, as mentioned earlier, Shinra's energy monopoly is built on Mako.
You do realize what Mako is, don't you?
Mako is extracted directly from the planet's life stream, its literal life source.
The planet bleeds green like you and me bleed red. The hell you think's gonna happen when it's all gone, huh? Answer me!
Shinra Corporation doesn't just drill into the Earth, it harvests the very soul of the planet. And in doing so, it causes irreversible damage. Mako is what lets them sell that fantasy of security, of energy abundance. But every light bulb powered by Mako is a death sentence for the planet. Sound familiar? The real-world analogue is obvious. Oil, or coal, or lithium. Honestly, at this point, just take your pick. Our planet isn't being drained of magic, but it is being mined, cracked, burned, and bled for short-term profit.
And global warming is unequivocally caused by human activities through emissions of greenhouse gases that arise from unsustainable energy use, land use and land use change, and lifestyle patterns.
Drill, baby, drill.
And just like in Final Fantasy VII, the effects of this extraction aren't abstract. In the game, the land around Mako reactors becomes barren and uninhabitable. Cities decay, and more terrifyingly, monsters begin to appear, unnatural creatures warped by the energy imbalance. In our world, well, we don't have behemoths and chimeras and things like that, but you know what we do have? We have floods, wildfires, hurricanes, rising oceans, entire ecosystems destabilizing. The monsters in Final Fantasy VII are a metaphor, but they don't feel so far-fetched when you realize that the planet is becoming more dangerous. Theirs and ours. Our climate is becoming more inhospitable, just like in the game. And the people who suffer the most? The ones already living below the plate. The ones that are already disempowered. And it's not just energy. Shinra exploits people too. Take the soldier program, for example. Voluntary human experimentation sold as an honor, as a way out of poverty. Shinra promises strength, status, even life above the plate for a lucky few. But in reality, it's trauma, mutation, and mind control. Fun! The elite few who survive become weapons. Everyone else disappears. Like Zack, who I refuse to cry about again because I'm a 33-year-old woman and how many times must I be forced to be emotional and cry over this beautiful man? But it's fine, because we're moving on before I do that. In Final Fantasy VII, people aren't citizens. They're assets. And when those assets stop being profitable, they're disposed of. Recycled, if they're extremely lucky. Let's start at the bottom. Shinra infantry are cannon fodder.
You think I care about the casualty rate?
Poor, undertrained grunts shipped off to die in wars that Shinra started. Their deaths are meaningless, unmourned, and forgotten. They're not soldiers, they're a product in a war economy. A war economy that, surprise, surprise, Shinra started and continues to profit from.
They're pawns in a greater game. If your stock runs low, then go round up more from Sector 3 or wherever else.
Then we need to dig into the labs, Shinra's real factory floor. Dr. Hojo, the company's head scientist, who is really just a monster in a lab coat. His legacy? Human experimentation. Cloud and Zack were only two of countless test subjects shoved into Mako tanks, forcibly infused with raw lifestream and Genova cells, turning them into weapons. Many didn't survive, and those who did were mutated, minds shattered, bodies twisted. And in the game, you see these experiments walking around. Failed prototypes, grotesque creatures built from human parts. Mako poisoned beasts caged beneath the steel doors, still twitching, still breathing, if barely. And even the elite aren't safe. Look at Genesis and Angeal. Shinra's crown jewels from the soldier program, outside of Sephiroth. But they themselves are heroes, icons, and yet genetically modified, tampered with, and ultimately left to degrade. Their bodies breaking down, cells collapsing under the weight of their own enhancements, with no cure, no retirement plan, just rot. If Shinra is willing to let even their champions fall apart, what chance does anyone else have? There is no loyalty, there is no dignity. You are only valuable for what they can extract from you, whether that's labor, genetic material, or the ability to kill on command.
The monster has been harvested and can be discarded.
And that's the most chilling part. This isn't just about control. It's about ownership. Shinra doesn't govern people. It consumes them entirely.
Sephiroth, I need your help. My body is continuing to degrade. Share your cells with me.
Also, as an aside, I love this scene with Genesis and Sephiroth because in my mind, this is how it goes. Oh, Sephiroth, I need your cells. Please give me your cells. Or, sounds gay, but all right. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Pew. Yeah, I think we should leave that in. Enter Avalanche, a small eco-resistance group willing to bomb reactors to stop the planet's destruction, which sounds pretty good on the surface. But here's where Final Fantasy VII gets bold. Because in the original game, Avalanche is framed as actual terrorists. Their actions have consequences. Civilians die. Infrastructure collapses. You, as the player, are forced to wrestle with the uncomfortable question. Is this justified? Is one reactor worth it if it slows down the planet's death? Is a handful of lives acceptable collateral if it prevents billions of deaths later? This is the trolley problem made playable. And just in case you don't know about the trolley problem, here's a really quick rundown. The trolley problem is a classic thought experiment in ethics, first popularised by philosopher Philippa Foot in the 1960s. Imagine this. A runaway trolley is out of control and speeding down the tracks. If nothing is done, it will hit 5 people tied to the main track. However, there is a lever you can pull to divert it onto a side track, where it will kill just 1 person instead. On the surface, it's a simple numbers game, 5 lives versus 1. But the real purpose of the thought experiment isn't to give you a clean answer. It's to make you question whether you value the greatest good for the greatest number, or believe there are moral lines that must never be crossed, no matter the result. Both choices will cause harm, and neither leaves you entirely innocent. Now, when we look at the trolley problem in relation to Final Fantasy VII, Cloud, backed by Avalanche, is the one that stands at the lever, assuming responsibility. The single person on the track stands in for those that could be killed as a result of bombing the reactor, and the 5 people on the track stand in for the planet and all the life it supports. And yes, an argument could be made that the trolley represents ecological collapse, or Sephiroth, or Meteor, or all of the above, but honestly, that's less important when we're using the trolley problem as a lens to analyse the beginning of Final Fantasy VII, which we will return to now. In the original Final Fantasy VII, the player is Cloud, and they're the one that pulls the lever in the classic trolley problem. You decide to sacrifice a small number of lives, civilians, families, innocent people, to stop a corporate giant that threatens the entire planet. It's not an abstract question anymore. It's a real, lived experience within the game world. This is the trolley problem made more visceral and immediate. The game puts you in the seat of ethical responsibility, asking, is Avalanche right to kill a few to save many later? Would you bear the weight of those deaths if the future of all life depends on it? And how does it change your view of yourself when you can't avoid seeing the consequences? That moral discomfort is baked into the original's DNA. You're forced to confront your choices and carry the burden of Avalanche's actions. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and that's the whole point. However, in the remake, the trolley problem gets a twist. The player knows Avalanche didn't cause the full devastation. The explosion was intentionally made worse by Shinra itself. The moral responsibility shifts from the player to Shinra's manipulation and propaganda machine.
Unidentified intruders have detonated a bomb inside Mako Reactor 1.
This shift changes the trolley problem's dynamic entirely. Instead of being the one who pulls the lever, you're now a bystander, watching someone else flip the switch and amplify the carnage. The game tells you, you didn't actually make that impossible choice. You didn't kill innocents, Shinra did. You're just the good side caught in a trap. And this removes the player's uncomfortable complicity. The moral dilemma softens into a clearer good versus evil narrative. The tension of having to weigh sacrifice against survival, the core of the trolley problem, is largely erased. But here's the kicker. The characters don't know this. Only the player does. Avalanche still carries the guilt and self-blame, while the player has the director's cut knowledge of Shinra's treachery.
This couldn't have been us, could it? But what if it was?
What's done is done.
This disconnect causes a strange tension. The player is spared the heavy ethical weight, watching the characters suffer the consequences instead. The remake defangs the original's message by removing the player's active role in causing harm. It turns a story of moral ambiguity into one of victim versus villain, and that changes everything, as now Avalanche are viewed as the good rebels. It makes it easier to digest, but it weakens the overall message.
Y'all gotta look at the bigger picture here. Nothing worth fighting for was ever won without sacrifice.
In the remake, Avalanche's bombs weren't supposed to kill civilians. Shinra was the monster all along. And don't get me wrong, Shinra is the monster all along, but it makes the entire ethical quandary a lot less interesting. While some, not me, might argue that it's a clever narrative twist, it also lets players off the hook. It removes that uneasy feeling of being complicit in these actions. The remake says, you did the right thing, everything's fine. The original says that you might not have. So why does this matter? Because stories like Final Fantasy VII are more than entertainment. They're mirrors. They reflect our world's struggles with extractive capitalism, environmental destruction, and the impossible choices those create. The original game doesn't let you off easy. It forces you to feel the messiness of resistance, the toll of sacrifice. It asks, when the planet is dying, how far would you go? Would you risk becoming the villain to save everything? Conversely, the remake offers comfort, a clear good versus evil, where you can be the hero without the guilt, without the consequences. That might be easier to swallow, but it loses the fire that made the original so powerful. And maybe that's the bigger lesson. Sometimes the hardest stories and the most meaningful stories are the ones that challenge us the most. They ask us to sit with discomfort, to question ourselves, and to wrestle with choices that don't have clean answers. So, the next time you're faced with a choice, whether on screen or in real life, remember the consequences of Avalanche's actions. Remember the lever you pulled. Then ask yourself, am I ready to carry the weight? And can I live with what comes next?
See ya!